Dave Joyner, Penn State Director of Athletics, Todd Steenberge, UCF Director of Athletics, Páraic Duffy, General Director of the Gaelic Athletic Association, the GAA, and Mr. Dan Rooney, former ambassador to Ireland and team chairman of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going to have Mr. Duffy just make some opening comments, and then we have 2 handheld microphones. We just ask that you please raise your hand. We'll bring the microphone to you, and please be sure to direct your question to someone in particular. So, Mr. Duffy, if you want to go ahead and kick it off. Thank you.
Just to say, first of all, how pleased I am to be here along with the delegation from Croke Park. We've been worked very hard over the past few weeks to prepare the ground with Penn State and UCF for next August's game. We're determined to make it a very special occasion for all the fans of both schools who come to Dublin. As an organisation and in terms of the Croke Park Stadium, we believe it'll be a very positive experience for everybody. As I said earlier today, we want to replicate the positive experience people have on match day here and perhaps make it even better in an Irish context, a little bit different. I'm particularly pleased that we're in the company of Ambassador Rooney. Ambassador Rooney was ambassador to Ireland until the end of last year. He was an extremely positive figure in Ireland, a great friend of the GAA, and of course in terms of football here, he needs no introduction from me. But particularly pleased that the trophy the 2 schools will play for is the Dan Rooney Trophy, and I couldn't think of anybody better to lend his name to it than Dan Rooney, and I said it's a real honour to have him share the platform with him today, so thank you.
Okay, so please raise your hand and we'll bring a microphone to you.
Mr. Duffy, welcome.
Thank you.
Could you explain to Americans what hurling is in a few words, and is that the sport that's most played at Croke Park usually, or is it Gaelic football?
I'd love to be able to answer your question with a little piece of a video clip, but in the absence, what is hurling? Go to YouTube and you'll see some fantastic examples of hurling. It's a 15-man game, played with a stick called a camon and a flitter, which is the ball. It's like no other game in the world. We believe it's the best and fastest field sport there is. Last Sunday we had our All-Ireland final, which is the equivalent of a Super Bowl, I suppose, in American football. We did 2,500 people in Croke Park. Cork played Clare, fantastic game, finished level. The replay in 2 weeks' time. But 82,500, which is a full house. And our second game is Gaelic football. Gaelic Athletic Association responsible for both sports. Next Sunday we have our football final, and again the stadium will be packed 82,000 plus again. So,
if I may follow up,
sure.
I've heard that hurling players are amateurs. And we have a debate here going on about college football and whether they should be amateurs. But they are amateurs. They're not paid, and you've got 82,000 people.
Yeah, they're well, I suppose it's an indication of the attraction of the games. I think maybe the point to make is Ireland is divided into 32 counties, and you must play for the county of your birth, the county where you live in. You cannot move from county to county. So if you're born in Dublin, you play for Dublin. If you're born in Kerry, you play for Kerry. Both sports are amateur sports. In fact, we have the chief executive of our players' body, Desi Farrell, with us here today. The players buy into the amateur ethos. We try to look after them as well as we can, but the players, the 30 players or 30 plus players who played last Sunday in front of 82,000 people would have gone to work on Monday morning as builders, teachers, lawyers, whatever they do. It's an amateur game. The amateur ethos is at the heart of what the GAA is about. And as I said, there's just a huge level of support for the games in Ireland.
Mr. Duffy, you talked about the 82,500 people that have been in for the 2 events that you have upcoming. Yeah. Have you started with ticket sales for the Croke Park Classic, and what's the projections that you have for that game?
The stadium has 68,000 seats and 14,000 terraces. We would certainly envisage selling the 68,000 seats. We have made no attempt really to sell tickets on any worthwhile basis as yet. We'll do that at the turn of the year. But certainly we would expect to sell out all of the seats for this game. There's a keen interest. Irish are a great sporting nation. Dublin's a great sporting city. There actually is a much higher awareness of college football and American football in Ireland than you might expect. For example, we see a lot of games on ESPN. We saw quite a few of Penn State's games last year on ESPN. There's already a lot of interest in the ESPN UCF game next year, and a lot of people in Ireland follow American NFL teams. I know that the Ambassador Rooney would like me to say they all follow the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers have quite a following, but the most popular team is probably the Patriots, probably because of the Boston connection and the Irish in Boston and so on. But there's actually a keen interest in American football, and I think that the game will be, this game next August will be very attractive to Irish sports fans as well. We expect to sell the stadium out. That's our intention.
Mr. Duffy, what process did you go through to pick the teams who are going to have the privilege of playing in the Croke Park Classic?
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard to answer that accurately. Patrick Steenberge, who's here with us, a good friend of ours, former Notre Dame player. Patrick has been bringing high school teams to Ireland for the past number of years. And it kind of emerged in discussion, really, that we had actually been hoping to have an NFL game in Croke Park, and Ambassador Rooney had been giving us some assistance in that regard. We didn't quite manage to convince the NFL. They have 2 games in London at the moment. We wanted them to bring a game to Dublin. We worked very hard on that. Didn't quite succeed, despite the best efforts and support we had from Ambassador Rooney. So then we turned our attention to a college game. And I think it was Patrick, in fact, who suggested Penn State. And we then approached UCF and through Todd. And over the past few months, they came to Dublin in June to have a look at the stadium. Came back again at the end of August when they saw our own games being played and had a good look around, and really happy with the 2 schools that are coming. I think both Florida, Central Florida and Penn State are 2 great schools to come to Dublin, and we think it's a really attractive fixture.
So if I could follow up, would you say that Penn State was one of the first choices? I
think it was our first choice, to be honest, yeah. It was our first choice. You'd be surprised at the level, the brand awareness there is of Penn State in Ireland. I mean, it goes back a long way. I'm not sure why, but so in terms of college football, if you ask people in Ireland to name college teams, Notre Dame, Penn State would probably be the first 2 names they would come out with. So that's why Penn State was a very easy choice for us. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I would just like to say, you know, being an American and going to Ireland, when I first went to the games, I thought, you know, it has no chance to sell in America. That it just, you know, isn't the same. But as I went on and started to see the games, I saw the last 2 years, the hurling finals and the Gaelic final football. And I'll tell you, it's amazing, and they're great athletes. All they do is run. They're running all the time, and you know, it's competitive. And the one thing that the Irish people are very sports-minded, as Páraic said, and I think that, you know, it has a real chance to be caught on and play games. And this, as I say, as he said, I really tried to get the NFL to play the games, but they're now sort of committed to London and continue to play, you know, number of games there. But I think that, you know, with what I said as far as the athletes and as far as the games themselves, that it will be very successful there.
Any further questions?
This is really for anyone who can answer it. What's the history and the story behind the trophy, and how did that come about?
Well, the trophy you see here is the material, the wood, is 4,200 years old, and we have actually verified that through Trinity College, scientists in Trinity College. Is the piece of steel there, Peter? Maybe the steel came, am I right from saying, from Three River Stadium, yeah, in Pittsburgh. So we think it's a very, very special trophy. We're particularly anxious to have the Pittsburgh connection because of Ambassador Rooney. And as I said, Ireland is a country with a long, long history. We want to do something very special in terms of a trophy. And as I said, it's from a piece of oak wood that has been verified as being 4,200 years old. So a very, very special trophy for a very special game.
Ambassador, could you speak to being honored with the trophy and what that means to you?
Well, let me say this, being associated, with the U.S. and football, and, what I just said about, the athletes and the sport in Ireland, I was very much on it. I really didn't understand, I must admit, how they name trophies, and that becomes the big thing, and that's a common thing in Ireland, that they do, name a trophy, and that's good. So Peter was the one that asked me, Peter McKenna said to me, we'd like to name the trophy after you that we're going to play. And I said, I don't deserve that. I said, you should get some Irishman. He said, no, we definitely want, because we're going to play American, football, and we think that it should be, someone that, and we would like you to do it because of, what you've done and things like that as far as sports in Ireland. So, it means an awful lot now. Once I heard, it's what it means and the, how it came about, and talking about how old it was and things like that. It's a real honor for me to do this and have the trophy named after me.
Páraic, are there practical benefits for your association in the hosting of this match, or is that beside the point? Are there things that you are seeking to learn from hosting two such big teams?
Yeah, I think actually we've seen the practical benefits probably over the past few days. I mean, in terms of how the games are staged here, we've learned an awful lot over the past couple of days. We'll learn from that. I mean, we're always trying to improve what we offer to our patrons in Croke Park, and certainly the experience we've had here over the past couple of days and around this game, and the advice and support we've got from Penn State and indeed from UCF has been invaluable. But for us, I think one of the things about this game for us is I think you can't overestimate the links between Ireland and the United States. They're long-standing. They're like family, really. And for us to welcome, as I said, two American colleges, distinguished American colleges to Croke Park, it's an extension of the long links between the two countries. And that for us is as important as anything else. And I said, we really will go out of our way to make this a great experience for everyone who travels. And we hope that Penn State, for example, at the moment have quite a few students who have come to Irish colleges and so on. So there are links there between the colleges and Ireland. And we see this as a way of extending those links. And as I said, but for us, it's an extension of the fantastic relationship that exists between Ireland and the US, and that through sport as well as every other way. And I would make one other point in relation to the trophy. I mean, but Ambassador Rooney was quite reluctant to have the trophy named after him because he's a very humble man, but we were very persistent and insistent, and I said we're delighted that eventually we persuaded him to agree.
Mr. Duffy, I'm not sure if you've gotten a chance yet today to kind of get out and see the atmosphere around the stadium, the tailgating atmosphere. I would ask you do you kind of get a sense for what American football means to these people just being around, if you have gotten a chance to see it, and would it be comparable for an atmosphere for, a game at Croke Park? You guys normally play Gaelic football or
Yeah, it's different. I mean, I've been at quite a few NFL games over the years. This is the first time I've been at a college game, and the atmosphere here today is absolutely fantastic. And you can see what it means. I mean, the relationship between the football team here and the supporters is incredible. I mean, despite what Penn State has gone through for the past number of years, that they can still attract 95,000 attendances. It's a huge statement about how the people here feel about their football team. And as I said, but that's sport. Sport does that to people. I think we have, similarly at home, people feel very, very passionately about their sport. So we can empathise with the feeling of supporters here. And I said, what we want to do is that the two colleges, UCF and Penn State, when they come to Dublin, they will see the same level of enthusiasm. It'll be different. I mean, tailgating will be different in Dublin because Dublin's a different city. The stadium is very close to the city centre. We think it'll be easy for people. We want to make it a different experience, but still carrying the best of what happens on a match day here. And we're pretty confident we can do that. We're actually enthusiastic and excited about the challenge that faces us. We know games here are run really, really well. We feel we can do just as well in our own way. And we are confident that Central Florida and Penn State will have a very good experience in Ireland that'll really, really enjoyable. We're very confident we can do a good job on it.
Questions? Okay, thank you. We're going to take a group shot here in the front with the Dan Rooney Trophy.